Over New Year's, I finally got to watch the musical that everybody's been talking about this year, Hamilton. And while it probably won't make my top 10 musicals of all time, it was incredibly thought provoking, particularly in this year 2020 and all that has been going on in the political world. It was especially poignant to have watched that birthing of this democracy. And then days later, to watch one of the darkest days of that same democracy with the assault on the Capitol. The juxtaposition of Hamilton and the assault has given me much to ponder about the future of this great nation. And I've come to the conclusion that perhaps my mother is right. Mom, if you're keeping score, that's twice this year that I have acknowledged you being right, just to be on the up. She has insisted over the course of this year in our discussions about politics that whether or not you approve or disapprove of Trump and his administration, that God has put him here for a reason. Oh, how I wanted to argue with her on that. But I've come to the conclusion she was right. And if for no other reason, it has been a wake-up call for democracy and what it means to be a citizen of these United States. I believe on January 6th, for the first time in decades, if not centuries, we recognized how fragile our union is. And I hope we also recognized the role that we have played in coming to this point. For our democracy to work, it requires one thing above all else: an informed citizenry. And we have failed miserably in that. We not only don't know our own history and our own government structure and how it functions, but we have let others think for us. We have let the media, right and left, yank our chains and tell us what the truth is. We have stopped thinking for ourselves. A quick perusal of social media reveals that there is very little original thought in any post. It's mostly cut and paste from what somebody else has said. That's not being informed. That's being duped. We have lost touch with our lawmakers, and we have failed to hold them accountable. We complain profusely, but when it comes to election, we just put them back in. We have become absentee in the governmental process, not only in our vote, but also in our participation at all levels of government, letting others do our work for us. I was challenged after church on Sunday, following a video and an article in the newspaper along these lines. How do I propose on us rectifying some of the issues when we cannot even seem to talk to each other? I've given it some thought. And I think we begin at the beginning. In that respect, Hamilton set things off for me, because I realized how little I knew of that period of history, or perhaps how much I had forgotten. We need to rediscover some of those issues that we wrestled with at the very beginning. I would suggest a good starting point is to read Hamilton and others' Federalist Papers, the prelude to the Constitution. For in those documents, we begin to see some of the issues that were and continue to be issues for us in this democracy, not the least of which is the relationship between states and the federal government. One of the geniuses of the framers of the Constitution was not to resolve the tension between the two, which is exactly what has happened in these last few years, is an attempt to resolve that tension and to polarize us. How do we understand that tension, and how do we continue to work within that paradox? That's a healthy discussion to have. Not an easy one, but a healthy one. When we finish with the Federalist Papers, we probably would do well to read the Constitution and figure out what it really says, instead of what other people tell us it says. What does it mean for us? As I read those pages, I am always struck by the sheer genius and the revolutionary thought that went into those founding documents. The framers of that Constitution were bold and insightful. It is a marvelous document and well worth our study. That said, it too contains the seeds of our format today. For in that document, we see the beginnings, or at least the systemic realities of racism, genderism, socioeconomic divisions, and an elitism. They're there, and they continue to rise up even to this day until we recognize them and address them and redress them. The Declaration of Independence isn't a bad place either to go, for it reminds us of the spirit that lies behind this great country. I've sat through Memorial Days and 4th of Julys and Veterans Days and heard again and again how the military has guaranteed our freedom. And that is true. But the future of this democracy hinges on us and our willingness to be informed and active participants in it. There are flaws with any form of government, and democracy has its own. But as far as I'm concerned, it's still the best game around. And I'm prepared to roll up my sleeves and get to work. How about you?